Welcome to Talking Science, where we dive into the latest news from space and science. Professor James McNay is here to discuss an innovative new ground-penetrating radar for future crewed missions to the moon and beyond. Professor, thanks for your time today.
Thanks. Yeah, happy to be here.
This is a Trekzone conversation. And you can get exclusive behind-the-scenes info and first-play access to all Trekzone podcasts by becoming a member today. Click join on every Trekzone video on YouTube. Go to the trek.zone/support or scan the QR code on screen throughout the show. Now, it's back to you, Matt.
Thank you very much, Ross. And don't forget, you can find us on social media. Search for Trekzone on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and your favorite podcast feed. Like, follow, and subscribe. Leave comments and ratings. That'll get us recognized by the algorithms. Now, Professor, can you tell us about this mini radar? It sounds very cool. And MAPrad is just a tenth the size of existing ground-penetrating radar systems, yet it's twice as powerful.
Well, it sees twice as close to almost twice as deep. I'm a scientist. I like to be exact. Yes, it was the mining industry have a sort of consortium called MIRA, and they came to me. They wanted to put radar on unmanned aircraft, and the deep penetrating radars they used had antennas that were the size about 10 meters, even 5 to 10 meters. And that's just too big to fit on a typical unmanned aircraft that you buy at J-Car or wherever you buy or more expensive ones. So with Canadian partner, we looked at ways of making radar smaller, and making the antenna smaller was the key thing that had to be done, which you can't do with electric antennas, but you can do with magnetic ones. So we decided to make a small magnetic antenna, and much to our surprise, we got it to work, and it was better than the existing ones.
It is absolutely incredible. And to help develop this idea, you were awarded a grant by the Aussie Space Agency's Moon to Mars initiative. What's it like to put that submission in and have approval come back and have the funds come in to help you continue on the research and the development?
It was going to be really useful. I spent my whole life in geophysics trying to find mines and sort of water, so exploring the Earth. And space is something that I was always interested in, but the last serious look at space was when I did astronomy at university in the 1970s. So this was just a fun thing, a sort of sudden change of interest, and I've got a lot to learn about space. So it's absolutely fascinating, and with hope to make a contribution that's sort of real different.
And what's MAPrad going to, in terms of a space application, what's MAPrad going to be able to help us astronauts search for?
Okay, the first thing is, like all radars, it's sensitive to water and ice. And obviously, on both the Moon and Mars, if humans start to inhabit, they'll need lots of water. They might actually break up the water to get fuel in terms of oxygen and hydrogen for propellant, but finding ice is critical, and finding it near surface in large volumes would be sort of the first application. Second application is you need a place to live, and the surface of the Moon is a pretty nasty place. It gets to boiling temperature of boiling water during the day, minus 150 degrees at night, which is a tad chillier than I'm used to. And so the other thing is it's peppered with these micrometeorites and cosmic radiation, which you don't want too much of it. So the obvious place to go is underground if you can. Now, it's very tricky to build underground tunnels, but there's evidence that these lava tubes, which we have on here on Earth, also exist on the moon. And they're probably quite a lot bigger on the moon than on Earth because the gravity is smaller. And so you could have built-in massive underground tubes with access to the surface that you could just go and set up your pressurized environment inside and for humans to live. So it'd be a great way to avoid much of the dangers.
Very incredible. Now, to prove the concept of MAPrad, you're going to obviously have to do that here on Earth. And Queensland has some well-suited topography for you. We saw it in the overlay just there. There's some caves in the far north of the state that are perfect to see whether MAPrad is going to do everything that you hope it will.
Yes, we're planning to go there. COVID's put a bit of a damper on travel. And also, we were still waiting for permission from North Queensland Parks to get on the site, but we shouldn't do any damage. It's just walking across the land with the instrument in the backpack. So assuming we get the permissions, yes, we'll go across and see that, yes, we can detect these tubes and they're fairly well known. So we can try to see them where they both close to surface and quite a bit deeper to get some idea of, yes, this new instrument works for this and will be ideal if we can get a rover on the moon or Mars to drag it along and see what we see underneath.
Very exciting stuff. Now, heading up to Undera, which are these caves, and testing out MAPrad could provide some fascinating findings in the caves, most of which haven't been extensively studied up there. So, using MAPrad could have a twofold application when you do finally get the chance to go up there.
Possibly, I think we're certainly not going to detect the microbats and the snakes that live in the caves or at the edges, but we'll be able to sort of map the top and the floor and check that the caves go on. I guess some of the reason they're not well explored is that there's bad air in some of them, so you'd have to take breathing apparatus down. And with becoming a national park, there's very much harder to get permission to look. So it'll be interesting. We won't try to explore the whole system. We'll just be there long enough to make sure that how well we can see them and justify continuing to work on our instrument to get it ready to go into space should the opportunity arises.
Very exciting stuff ahead, Professor. Looking forward to seeing MAPrad in action as well. Professor McNay, thanks for beaming into Trekzone today and good luck with your tests.
Many thanks. Much appreciated.